Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark. We are in 1 Samuel chapter 6. We're going to be starting in verse 15 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, as we saw last lesson, the Philistines, they prepare a cart for the ark to be placed on. It's a new cart. They're not sending some old used beat up cart. And they also prepare 2 milk cows that were milking and cows that were feeding their calves that had never had a yoke on them before. And they prepare this transportation for the Ark of the Covenant to go back to Israel. And as we said in the last couple of lessons, that if the Ark does go straight back to Israel, it had to be a work of God. It had to be God behind this. The God of Israel, the God of the Ark had to be behind it, because they were giving all kinds of options for this ark to be come back, to give them a reason to bring the Ark of the Covenant back to them. Now, they send it off, and as it goes, the cows are mooing, and the Ark now is coming into the land of Israel, into the region of Beth Shemesh, the city of Beth Shemesh. And probably the people were out in the fields working, but they probably heard the cows mooing, and it got their attention. It's possible that they looked up and saw the ark coming with the cows pulling it. But again, we don't know exactly how this took place, but more than likely they heard off in the distance, they heard these 2 cows mooing and pulling the cart with the ark on it. And it got their attention to go and see what this was. Now let's get into verse 15. And it says here, And the Levites took down the ark of the Lord, and the coffer that was with them, wherein the jewels of gold were, and they put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrifices the same day unto the Lord. Now it says here the Levites did this. This is what the Levites did. And the name Levite seems to be used in a more general sense to refer to people of the tribe of Levi, which the priests were from. But remember, Beth Shemesh, the city of Beth Shemesh, was a priestly city. It was not a Levitical city. So it was a city specifically for the descendants of Aaron, the priests. And it says here that these priests offered up burnt offerings. Now, these burnt offerings represented a renewal of their consecration to God. And the other sacrifices that they offered seemed to have been sacrifices of thanksgiving to God for allowing the ark to come back into the land. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord because it was their job to do so. It was not anyone else's job to touch that ark. It was the job only of the Levites to take the ark off of the cart and take it down. Only the priests and the Levites were the ones who were allowed to handle the ark. Now, let's read verse 16. This might be kind of a short lesson because I want to deal with another issue in the latter part of this chapter. But verse 16 says, And when the 5 lords of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. Now, after seeing what took place with these cows, going straight to the land of Israel, not stopping, not turning around. They're headed straight for the land of Israel. The Philistine lords, they are convinced that now they have proof. Now they are assured that all the plagues for the last 7 months was because of the God of Israel. There was no doubt in their minds. So now they return back to Ekron to tell the rest of the Philistines, yes, these plagues were because of the God of Israel, the God of this ark. And now that this God has been returned to Israel and back to its proper place, we should expect no more plagues to come upon us. Remember, Beth Shemesh is about 9 to 10 miles from the city of Ekron in the Philistines' territory. So it would more than likely the leaders of the Philistines, the priests that came to view this happening with the cows going, they didn't go all the way to Beth Shemesh. They stood at a distance. So it's possible they traveled about 8, maybe 9 miles to see what was going on, to make sure that the cows were going to go there. And then they turned around. So it's anywhere probably from 15 maybe to 18-mile round trip for them to go and see what took place and then go back to Ekron. So even though the 5 lords did not travel all of the way to Beth Shemesh, yet they waited at a distance until the cows got there. Therefore, they must have started out sometime in the early morning in order to get back to Ekron on the same day. Because again, we don't know how fast the cows were going. It doesn't say they were running. They were mooing and going along. The cows, I worked on a farm when I was just a young teenager for a number of years. Cows don't run and moo. They don't do that. They walk and they moo, or they stand and they moo. So these cows were walking. And did they continuously walk? Did they stop a little bit and chew some grass? We don't know. But they probably started out early in the morning, and these 5 lords there, they accompanied these cows at a distance. They were probably, who knows, maybe a quarter of a mile behind, maybe a half a mile behind, keeping their eyes on it just to make sure that these cows were going in a straight direction there. And they did. So they turned around when the cows got there. They turned around, they went back home, and they told the people of Ekron and the Philistine nation, yes, these plagues were from the God of Israel. Now, let's read verses 17 and 18, and we're going to finish our study in these 2 verses here. And it says here, "And these are the golden emerods which the Philistines returned for a trespass offering unto the Lord. For Ashdod was one, for Gaza was one, for Ashkelon was one, for Gath was one, and also for Ekron was one." So there's 5 cities that they made golden emerods. Now verse 18 says, "And the golden mice, according to the what? According to the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 lords, both of fenced cities and of country villages, even unto the great stone of Abel, whereon they set down the ark of the Lord, which the stone remains unto this day, in the field of Joshua the Bethshemite." Now, These two verses describe the offering that the Philistines returned with the ark, and each one represents a city and some villages here. And there was an emerald for each of the 5 main cities. But the first part of verse 18, it seems to say that they made a golden mouse for all of the cities, towns, and villages that surrounded these 5 main cities. That's what it seems like. Now, back in verses 4 and 5, it seems that only 5 mice were made, but we don't know. It's a little bit confusing. Were only 5 mice made, or was there a golden mouse made for every single village and city around these 5 cities? Every village and town, did they get one? Did they have a representation of a golden mouse for them? Again, we don't know. That would be a lot of mice, because there's a lot of villages around these 5 cities, villages and towns. It is possible that the people of the towns and of the villages who were also affected by the plague given through the mice, they also wanted to add an offering to the God of Israel along with the major cities. This would mean that there would be many, many mice given by the Philistines. I mean, if you were plagued, because the Bible says they were plagued too, the villages and towns around these cities were also plagued with emerods, with disease, with death. So if you lived in a village and your city was affected by this, I mean, wouldn't you want to send an offering of a mouse unto this God of Israel that's plagued you? I think possibly you might. Well, I mean, this is their mentality back then. So again, it's possible that every single village and town around these 5 cities sent a golden mouse. How big it was, we don't know. But I mean, there may be a lot of them. 5 emerods for sure, golden emerods, but many, many mice that were also involved in this offering unto God. So again, we don't know for sure. Now, we're going to stop in this lesson, and next lesson we're going to start in verse 19. We're going to look at verses 19 to 21 and God's judgment upon Beth Shemesh, upon the people of Beth Shemesh. All right? But until then, walk with the Lord. I know He walks with you.